Dr. Hemant Rath's research interest is on the 5G network design, software-defined networks, network securities, cryptography, uh, and the augmented robotics, fog computing. And he is a member of IEEE Globecom, ICC, SECON, ComsWare, Telcon, ComsNet, NCC, PIMRC, Indicon, and he is having the more than 40 research papers in the international journal, and as well in the international conference and the national conference. Now, currently, Dr. Hemant is also teaching at IIT Bhubaneswar, that is in the School of Electrical Sciences as an adjunct faculty since 2009. So, thank you very much, Dr. Hemant, accepting our request. May I request you to uh, start your talk?
Okay. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, all the organizers, and good afternoon to all my participants for this session. So we'll talk in the next 1.5 hours in the areas of blockchain, 5G, security, all those related things. Uh, Please feel free to ask me maybe at the end of the session or in between if you have any question. Okay. And organizers, if any audio problem or something is there, please do let me know so that I can try it again to speak.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay. So this is the broad area or broad outline I'm going to give. I'll start with use cases and try to connect you people to the regular use cases we face today in the real world, and we'll see how 5G architecture has been evolved and what are the security privacy issues. Couple of slides we'll discuss on that part. Then we'll take to you people to blockchain because I think already Dr. Rajan spoke about blockchain. I think a lot of speakers talk about blockchain in detail. So I assume that you all know blockchain. So instead of giving in detail about blockchain, types of blockchain implementations, or the blocks, or ledger, all kind of things, I'll assume that you people know blockchain to a certain extent, and we'll see how blockchain can be deployed or implemented or can be used to deploy the 5G use cases. Okay, and there itself we'll see what are the opportunities from the computer engineers, from the computer scientists, professors, or IT engineers, and what are the research challenges we will going to face, what are the deployment challenges we are going to face. Okay, and we'll have a broad summary or conclusion towards the end. Okay. So let me introduce you people to the talk. Okay. So today I think internet is a way of life. Like I am talking today also to you people through internet. Okay. And or the lecture is also going live in internet, which was a complete dream in late 90s or early 2000 itself. Earlier it was a luxury item, now it is a must-have item. Okay. And these days virtual is becoming real because virtual talk now is happening, virtual FDP is also happening, virtual lab sessions also happening. Everywhere virtual is happening. Okay. When you go for virtual, that means your device or your speaker or your data, everything has to flow, and you think as if everything is becoming real or normal. Okay, so that virtual concept is going to create some kind of new opportunity for all of us. Okay, internet, what we see today, it started way back in 1960s, but the broad revolution started in the early 90s or 1995 kind of things. Until 2015 kind of things, there is a lot of development starting from a browser to search engine to emails to social media. Now all applications, everything is an app now. Whether you go for your Android phones or Mac phones or computers, laptops, everywhere it is app now. And IoT or industrial IoT is playing a major role today. Okay. When I talk about all these internet or appification or virtualization kind of things, everything is becoming possible only because the last mile or fast mile is becoming wireless communications. If there is no wireless communications, then it wouldn't have been there at all. What we see today wouldn't have been there, because you cannot put so many like wires to all the smartphones. Okay, that's the difference between the landline phones to smartphone or mobile phones. So everything is becoming possible because of wireless. Wireless can be all our telecom network kind of things, whether it is you call about 2G, 3G, or today's 4G world, or future 5G world, okay, or Wi-Fi, or any kind of technology. There are multiple technologies are there. So smartphones, connect laptops, sensor devices, all are connecting to the world through wireless. Okay. So remember the terms, the wireless communication is a major aspect which is going to play specifically for the blockchain. When we discuss a blockchain, I'll bring whatever I'm talking now, I'll connect all these things to blockchain. Okay. The other part is the traffic growth. Okay. Earlier the traffic was mostly on the download kind of thing. Now the traffic is mostly on the uplink kind of things. I'm uploading. Since I'm talking, I'm uploading more traffic. So everybody is uploading to the server. It is getting stored in some server or some cloud, or say Microsoft Teams cloud. All kind of things is happening. Okay, and we have so many applications. Okay, so these applications are going to play a major role in the 5G deployment, in terms of security, in terms of privacy, in terms of all kind of things. You must have seen in the last fortnight, Government of India has banned almost 46 applications or apps, okay, mobile apps. So earlier they banned some 90 apps, including TikTok and other things. So the apps are going to play a major role. Not only the app, the smartphones or smart devices are also going to play a major role in the deployment or in the development kind of activities. Okay. So everywhere today is smartness. Okay, whether you call smart life or smart health, smart home, smart village, smart city, smart airport. I think day before yesterday, Prime Minister was talking about smart Wi-Fi. Everywhere Wi-Fi. They want to give free Wi-Fi. So the smart term is the new term, and it is going to be a general term in the dictionary itself. So what is smart? What can think, communicate, decide, act, react, all the things coming to my smartness. And this smartness is changing my life. Okay, everything is getting changed because of smartness. And this smartness is creating huge amount of opportunity for me. Okay, massive opportunity for me, because number of devices almost 50 billion or more than that today, and it is going to be almost 300 billion in another 5-10 years. Okay, and the smart applications are also more. So everything is becoming a connected world, a smart world going forward. Okay. So when I talk about the smartness, the industrializations, the internet, the wireless, all kind of things, couple of things are important which we are going to discuss, whether from blockchain perspective or security perspective or bandwidth perspective. Like personal device. My smartphone is a major factor. My mobile laptop is a major factor. Personal device is a major thing. Then digitizations. Applications are getting digitized. Everything is getting digitized. Then sensors. They are also going to play a major role. Then security, because everybody wants security. I think yesterday our Chief Justice mother was duped by 2 crore. Okay. So if security privacy is not there, then even Chief Justice mother can be duped by 2 crore. So then irrespective of who is there, people can hack, people can dupe, people can do whatever they want. And media now, today I release a movie, tomorrow it will be there everywhere. So I'll lose all my revenue, right? So media is also a major factor. Services. What services government is giving? Say government's that Arogya Setu app, or government's passport app, or government's other apps. So the kind of services they are giving, the services, like Facebook is a service. Okay, so all the things are going to play major role in the things. The production engine, or production world, agriculture world, healthcare world, education world, everywhere the revolution is there. Okay, so we are going to have more devices and more amount of traffic, all kind of things. This is the broad things. Today it is there and tomorrow it is going to happen. So let us see a couple of small use cases where 5G is required and why 5G is required and why blockchain is going to solve that problems, what we are going to see in the 5G aspect. So first use case, let us see, is healthcare. In India, after the COVID scenario, I think we realized that we are lacking, specifically we are lacking in a very broad manner on the healthcare aspect. We don't have more doctors, we don't have facilities, we don't have hospitals. So we have to have some kind of smart healthcare system. Okay, if the heart specialist is there in Bombay or Delhi and he wants to do a surgery in Bhubaneswar or Jaipur, can he do that using robotic surgery? Can he do certain, can he treat the patient who is there in, say, Port Blair? So all the things has to be there. Otherwise, we cannot provide all kind of doctors, all kind of medical facilities in every part of our world or India itself, which is not going to happen in the next couple of years. We don't have doctors, we don't have facilities. So you have to utilize whatever is there in a better way. You have to, for that, my technology is going to help me, my blockchain is going to help me, my internet or 5G or 3G, 4G, whatever is there are going to help me. Okay. Similarly, we have using healthcare, all elder, whatever senior citizens we have want to monitor them, their health parameters. So say my parents are there in my village and I want to regularly measure their BP or sugar or their heartbeat, all kind of things. So if I can put certain kind of system there and they can daily give me all the information, accurate information, then I can take appropriate decision. I can send them what medicines to be taken or everything I can do, right? So these are essential today. Okay, what was not there yesterday is becoming essential. In fact, it's becoming more essential with the COVID scenario in place. Okay, then certain use cases like AR, VR use cases. Okay, robotic arms, your tactile network or tactile communications. Okay, so sitting here, you can make a video. Say you people are there in Jaipur, some are there say in Delhi, some are there in say Jammu. I am here, and we are going to create a say some kind of movie or some kind of song. Okay, so we cannot gather in one place. Now we have to use augmented reality or virtual reality so that we all are as if located in one place and doing the drama or doing the song or doing the movie. Can that be done using tactile network, using AR, VR kind of things? Similarly, robotic arms, all the things has to be there. When you do all the things, you need to have the communication aspect a major role. Similarly, you have traffic management. Like Delhi, it is a horrible situation, especially in winter because of fog and other things, right? And when you dream about driverless car, then that will become more and more essential to have better communication between the devices, between the cars and the pedestrians, such that things can become proper. And similarly, if you want to do rescue operations, so like the way it happened during cyclone, like recently it happened in Chennai, earlier it was there in Odisha. So can we do some kind of rescue operations using 5G, using blockchain, all kind of things. So these are the broad use cases as we're seeing today, whether you called a smart city or smart say home or smart health, all these, or smart factory, smart village, all the things possible. And when you do this thing, when you dream about those kind of thing, you will be seeing the 4K videos are essential. You will be seeing cloud computing essential. You will be seeing, you'll be realizing that your fog computing or edge communication is becoming essential, or security, privacy, those things are going to be essential. Okay, so we'll see those factors and see how they are going to play some kind of role specifically in 5G and blockchain. Okay, now we started with internet, we started with smartness in applications, smartness in the use cases. Then you slowly move to certain use cases, which gives some understanding what we need today. Like in the COVID scenario, the smart education, okay, smart examinations. These are very essential. Even if they teach smart, they do all kind of smart teaching or the e-learning kind of thing, but e-examination is becoming very, very difficult because of certain issues. Can we make the e-examinations a reality? Can we do that? So that is also essential. Can we see what the person is doing while giving examination? Is he doing some copying, or is he talking to someone else, or is he seeing some textbook or something? Can that be done? So that those things are essential from the use case perspective. Okay. Now, when to realize those use cases, what I need? I need guaranteed communication with mobility support. Remember, mobility support. First thing is communications. Second is mobility support. Okay. Then very extremely high or low, sorry, extremely low packet error rate, or you need to have 1 in 10 to the power 10 kind of packet error rate, and high reliability and availability. 6 nines I need. Okay. Earlier with say 99 reliability, if I go, there can be a possibility that 3 days, okay, can be off in a year. But if I go for 99.9999, the 6 9 kind of reliability, I cannot afford more than 30 seconds per year. Okay, so that kind of reliability I need. That means whenever I want to log into system, should be there, internet should be there, server should be there, the cloud should be there, everything should be available, made available. Then link, coverage, congestion, predictions, all the things has to be there. If I'm going to Delhi road, I should not wait anywhere. Okay, my network should flow perfectly fine. And 360-degree camera, stereo cameras are required. Huge amount of data you are going to generate. If you are going to put 360-degree stereo cameras, huge amount of data will be generated. And the delay is extremely low. You have to have 1 to 10 millisecond kind of thing. If you go for say tactile kind of thing, if you go for healthcare kind of thing, if you go for say robotic surgery kind of thing. Okay, if there is a heart attack, if I cannot give that injection or medicine within say 10 millisecond or something like that, then the person would die, right? If I'm doing some surgery, if I'm not doing that surgery properly, then robot will do something else, then that person may die, and that is going to create a huge problem for me. So these are the issues which are going to be realized or handled to realize the use cases. Okay, you need to that network provisioning, application redesign, vendor independent solutions. Today we have Microsoft, tomorrow somebody else can come, and I don't have to depend upon certain guy. I don't have to depend upon certain applications. It should be applicable across the system, across the network. Today I'm having say Reliance network, tomorrow I might be going for say BSNL network. My system should flow, system should work properly fine. So to realize the use cases we discussed, whether smart agriculture or smart health or smart education or the tactile use cases, these are the broad requirement we are going to have. And these can be made possible with 5G in place. So we started with the internet, the smartness to smart use cases. Then realizing the smart use cases is the key factor. We understood now what are the basic requirement to realize those smart use cases. Now, to realize the smart use cases, people say 5G is good enough. Is 5G is good enough? Can 5G do that? 5G says it can give mobility. We spoke about mobility. 5G says we can go 350 km per hour. Even if 60 km per hour mobility we can support in India, that is also good enough. 5G said your requirement says ki huge amount of bandwidth requirement. 5G says you have 10 gigabits of bandwidth possible. That is good enough. 5G says we need extremely low latency, and that is also required. And today everybody is having more than 2 smart devices in a house. Earlier there was only one landline phone. Now in every house there might be 10 mobile phones. So your user density is increasing. Okay. Then we don't have enough energy. We cannot rely on the whatever thermal energy or hydro energy all the time. We have to have some kind of different energy. So the 5G says extremely low energy can be made possible. And 5G has to provide the IoT kind of support, which is essential to realize those use cases. What are the G's of 5G? First thing is gigabit speed, gigahertz frequencies, greater flexibilities. Then you have gig modes or gadgets, global computation. These are the 5Gs broadly talk about the things which are going to be used to realize those use cases. Now, let us map the use cases, whatever use cases we saw. If I have to go, say my intention is whatever the use cases we saw, I'm going to realize those use cases as an engineer. I'm going to deploy those use cases in practice. So let us say what is essential to realize those things. Before, as an engineer, before deploying those use cases, I need to understand what those use cases are going to generate. What kind of traffic will be there? It will be video traffic, voice traffic, audio traffic, or IoT traffic. So I have to categorize those traffics. Now, if you categorize those traffic, 5G says there are broadly three kind of traffic: eMMB, MMTC, URLLC. URLLC, the ultra reliable, low latency kind of communications, where you have all, say, robotic surgery kind of things, and MMTC, massive mode kind of communications like smart home, smart village, smart healthcare, all kind of IoT kind of deployment. And eMMB, extremely mobile broadband. Okay, your virtual reality, your augmented reality, your video monitoring, all kind of things are there. So you can broadly divide all your applications, all your use cases, or the applications which are there in that particular use cases in broadly into three segments: eMMB, MMTC, URLLC. Each one has separate KPI or some kind of key performance index or QoS requirement. Like if I go for URLLC, my delay requirement will be say 1 to 10 milliseconds. If I go for eMMB, I need to have video communication. So I need to have say 1 Gbps kind of bandwidth. So that kind of requirement will be there if I go for eMMB, MMTC, or URLLC kind of things. While eMMB will be getting deployed in phase 1, MMTC, URLLC broadly are going to be deployed in phase 2 itself. Now, can 5G enable? We thought like, okay, 5G has certain things and 5G can enable those use cases. Let us see. 5G can enable because we can have network aware applications. So if there is no bandwidth, you don't play HD video, instead you play SD video. If there is enough bandwidth, you go for HD video. Similarly, application aware networking. So if application is there, then the application require some kind of HD bandwidth. So you would provide that bandwidth. So these things are becoming possible. You can have dynamic orchestrations. You can have IT/OT integrations, which is essential for enterprises. And you need to have new physical layer. I'm not going in detail into this new physical layer part. We'll see when we are going to deploy these things. The dynamic orchestrations will be essential. The virtualizations things also are going to be essential. Now, to deploy those use cases, to a certain extent we understand that 5G is essential. Now, if 5G is going to be deployed, how 5G is going to be deployed? What is 5G? What are the 5G architecture? 5G says I can divide my total thing into two broad plane: forwarding plane and it's a control plane. You have control plane, you have forwarding plane, and you have also an access plane at the top of that. Okay, so you have also access plane. So the control plane will go into detail of this control access plane, control plane, forwarding plane. In the access plane, what is happening? You can have inter-cell coordination in the access network. Say Wi-Fi, your LTE, your 5G, all kind of things will be there. So you can have multiple devices, multiple base stations, multiple technologies, multiple operators. You need to have communication among themselves. Then you have control plane. Control plane, you have centralized control. Say I have a Reliance base stations and I'm having say Airtel base stations. Can they connect with each other? Can there be or if my data is going from my mobile and there is simultaneously I'm sending some video, I'm doing some banking transactions. So video go in one channel, my banking transaction goes in another channel. all these things can be made possible through my control plane. And how that data is going to go, where exactly going to go, that will be taken care by my forwarding plane. Okay, so 5G has three broad things: 5G access plane, control plane, forwarding plane. And in access plane, as I said, can be Wi-Fi, LTE, all kind of things. So multi RAT convergence has to be there. From the control plane, on-demand networking has to be there. Okay, so these kind of things are essential from the 5G perspective. Okay, so I'm just building my requirement for blockchain. Why blockchain will be required, or how blockchain is going to solve this kind of things which we are going to do. Okay. Now, let us see 5G key point. As I said, on-demand networking. If because applications we saw, the smart applications we saw, okay, are to use those applications, to run those applications, I need to have on-demand networking. Okay, and there should be some kind of network orchestrator. That means if I'm going to talk, then only I'll get a bandwidth. I'll be getting some kind of bandwidth. If I'm not talking, if I'm not utilizing, can that bandwidth be given to someone else, to my neighbor? But that is not there if I go some kind of wired communication. In wired communication, if I ask, I'll be there. It is there with me. But if I go for wireless kind of things, then this has become possible. Okay, your network orchestrator is possible. You need to have SDNization in place, software-defined networking, where your control plane, your data plane is segregated. You have NFV has to be there. Your virtualization has to be there. In 5G, everything is virtual. Your base station is also virtual. Your network is also virtual. Your physical network is getting virtualized, and that virtual network is actually given to you. Okay, same. That means one person is having, say, server. Same server might be talking to other world as a, say, Airtel server, or talking to other people as, say, a Jio server, or those kind of thing. Okay. So like say Amazon is supporting both Jio, Airtel, other guys. So same Amazon server is being handled by 3 different people, or being utilized by 3 different people. You need to have multi-RAT cooperations. As you discussed, your one operator having one RAT, other operator having other RAT. They have to communicate with each other. Okay. While communicating, what issues will come and how blockchain is going to help, that we'll discuss. So you need to have multi-RAT operations, on-demand networking, which is essential for the 5G. So this is what we have discussed so far. In 5G, we have access plane, we have control plane, we have forwarding plane, and the access plane, we have all kind of users are there, all kind of Wi-Fi, heterogeneous network, your LTE advanced, all kind of things are there. And you need to have, why the access plane, control plane, the forwarding plane? Ultimately, you need some kind of services. My Facebook has to run, my WhatsApp has to run, my Gmail has to run, my application has to run, my all kind of banking transaction things has to run. So these are the value added services have to give in by the network service provider. Okay. See, there are now if you go for access plane, see, I can have Wi-Fi network from anyone else. Okay. My mobile phone can be, say, Samsung phone or Micromax phone or MUI phone, for anything kind of things. So my access plane also, there is a lot of heterogeneity in terms of devices, in terms of network. In the control plane, there can be multiple control network, or there can be virtual networks. Similarly, the kind of services I'm going to utilize, they are owned by multiple people. So Facebook is owned by someone, your WhatsApp is owned by someone else, your movie Netflix is being owned by someone else. All are being owned by different kind of people or different kind of services, different kind of owners. So ultimately, who is giving the thing to me? Ultimately, my network is providing things to me. So that means when I'm accessing, say, Netflix, it is going from my phone. Okay, my request is going from my phone through the, say, the network, say BSNL network. Through BSNL network, it is going to someone, and then ultimately it is go to the Netflix server, and Netflix server maybe they are in some say some kind of cloud, and it might be connected to somebody, say AT&T or somebody network. Okay, and finally, when the application comes to me, it has to be taken care by all the networks. The end-to-end things has to be done. That means from my mobile or from my laptop to Netflix and coming back because I'm paying, right? Because I'm seeing some movie, and that movie is having certain kind of things, some kind of requirements like age requirements or some kind of area requirements because the copyright kind of things. So those things has to be there. So when you go for 5G kind of scenario, everything is not owned by one guy. Here, things are owned by multiple people. Okay. Similarly, say Airtel. Airtel is not owning the entire RF network. Airtel is only owning or giving you the billing. Somebody else is doing doing their whatever base station business. Maybe Huawei or maybe Jetty or maybe Nokia is actually managing their base stations. So base stations are owned by someone else. Only spectrum they use, they know they have their spectrum, and they say, okay, you transmit at this frequency. That's all, right? So you need to have multiple parties, multiple operators, multiple users, multiple applications device managers or service servers are playing a major role in realizing the use cases we saw. Okay. So to summarize those things, what is happening? We need to have third-party services. We need to have application layer where all these APIs kind of things there. Okay, I will show those APIs. Capability layer. Capability layer is actually going to help me tell me whether my network is sufficient. Okay, to play a movie run by Netflix or watch some kind of cricket match. Okay, so that's the capability layer. Then resource layer. Resource layer will tell me how this resource has to be utilized, whether some part will go via Wi-Fi, some part will go via LTE, or everything will be Wi-Fi, everything will be LTE, everything will be taken care by resource layer. So at the top of my 5G network, I'm dividing my entire requirement to three different parts: application layer, capability layer, resource layer. Okay. Now, so far we saw we have services. Okay, those services has to run from the smart use case perspective, whether smart healthcare or smart city or smart village kind of things, and those applications are owned by someone else, and applications are running in some other place, maybe cloud or maybe some other place. Now the applications, to run those applications in end devices, you need end-to-end network, and that network has to be secure. That is the reason we are going in logical way to see what are the security challenges, what are the privacy challenges, okay, and how that network has to be given. Because if suppose I need say Wi-Fi, that means only I'm doing some kind of text message transaction. I don't need 1 Gbps kind of thing. Maybe I need something say 100 Mbps or 1 Mbps kind of things. So my network instead of giving to 1 Gbps can give me 100 Mbps or 1 Mbps. The rest it can give into someone else, and that can be done using slicing. Okay, so that can so we'll see how blockchain is going to help them also. And let us see from the security perspective, because multiple parties are there. There is a application service provider, somewhere applications are running, someone is actually checking the applications, like Government of India checking the applications, okay, and it is flowing certain based at the top of certain network, and in a particular country, okay, like watching say some kind of movie may be banned in India, or reading certain book in banned in India. Maybe that is not banned in say Pakistan or America or US or some Europe, right? So you depending upon different countries, my requirements are different. So depending upon the end device where it is located, things are different. So when you talk about 5G deployment, we have to holistically see each and every aspect. Then only the things are going to be realized or deployed or practically made possible. Now, when I'm going to make secure, what is to be secure? First thing is data. Second thing is computation. Okay, where I'm going to compute, where I'm going to run my algorithm, where I'm going to run my sorting algorithm or certain kind of banking algorithms, that has to be secure. User has to be secure. My network has to be secure. My services has to be secure, right? So data, service, computations, user, network. So all the things has to be made secure from the 5G perspective or from the use case perspective. Now from the 5G security perspective, So as we discussed, SDN is essential in 5G because the need of virtualizations. So SDN security is required. Your RAN part also has to secure. Everything cannot run at the cloud. You have to have certain kind of edge devices, because if you go everything in the cloud, that means you need to do a lot of transactions to the cloud, which may not be essential. You can do certain kind of caching at the edge devices or fog devices. So you need to have edge security, supply chain security. You need to predictions. Suppose you are going to do certain kind of predictions, or say the banking transactions, or you are doing some kind of share market things, and you are doing certain predictions, and that has to be secure. Your data security has to be there, and orchestrations. The person who is managing the entire network, the person who is providing on-demand network to you, that person also is secure, right? So virtualization security, slicing security, all the APIs, Facebook has to be secured, my WhatsApp has to be secured. Otherwise, someone can hack, someone can steal my information, someone can steal my private video, private movie, private photos, all kind of things, and create blackmail to me. So all the things has to be secure from the 5G perspective. Now to deliver 5G security to them, what I need, whatever things I going to deploy, whether I deploy blockchain or I deploy something else. Okay, cloud will be there, cloud-led has to be there. Okay, so there itself, if I use cloud or cloud-led, first thing is essential part is delay is essential part, programmability is essential part, reliability is essential part, agility is essential part. So the thing which are going to be utilized to deploy this, they have to ensure that delay is given, programmability is ensured, reliability is ensured, agility is ensured. Second thing is virtualizations. When I go for virtualizations, my slicing has to be there, NAPSTN has to be there, virtualization has to be there, right? When I go for APIs kind of thing, it has to see whether open source kind of app I'm going to utilize or licensed app I'm going to utilize, right? That is also very essential, because if I utilize certain app and if there is no security, that means app can be say Axis Mobile, okay, Axis Bank or cloud or the Wi-Fi, the ICICI Bank. Other the applications can do certain kind of mediation and do actually connect to Axis Bank or say ICICI Bank, like some kind of UPI, say Amazon UPI, it's third party, or say Airtel UPI, it's third party. They are talking to UPI, UPI is talking to Axis Bank. So multiple parties are there. Some are licensed, some are open sourced, so a lot of things are there. And there is a lot of legality issues going to play a role here. So that also has to be seen. So from the 5G security perspective, we've already seen the data has to be secured, the platform has to be secured, performance has to be secured, API, protocol, legal, all the things has to be secured, and we need to see how this blockchain is going to help these security aspects. We are not going to the detail of this the traditional security or private the 5G kind of thing security, but the essential aspect which will be there in 5G is end-to-end security, because everything is virtual here. Only user device is real, all other things are virtual. Since I'm going to have a virtual network, virtual applications, virtual devices, this end-to-end security will be essential. We'll see how end-to-end security is going to play a role here, and that will be taken care. Okay. So when we're going to realize the security, what is going to happen? The policies have to be defined. Okay. Then the deployment mechanism has to be defined. Country specific things has to be defined. Okay. Then there itself MLA has to be deployed. Okay. So we have use cases to deploy the use cases. Security is a major factor, and to cloud, cloud-led, your orchestrations, all the things are virtualizations, all the things are essential. Okay. Now security is also very essential at the top of that. Now to let us realize using blockchain. Okay. So before getting to blockchain in detail, okay, I'll give a brief introductions, I think, which Rajan has spoken yesterday about blockchain. Blockchain, what is there? It is nothing but is some kind of database, right? You all knows what kind of database itself. So it is very much similar to some kind of DBMS kind of thing. Okay, but here the thing is everything is chained. So there is a hash function connected and everything is chained. So when The chained, that means for every module or every block, there is some front, there is some back. That means it is connected. You cannot, if you remove something, that means your front, back both are gone, right? Or the front guy will not be able to connect you, or the back guy will not be able to connect you, right? So there is not that. That is the reason blockchain is very good in some kind of deployment, because the chaining mechanism is there, and it is shared across and controlled by multiple nodes and parties. So all my mobile user to see the app developers, say my mobile to Facebook, my mobile to say Airtel, or everybody has to be chained. Everybody has to be connected. Now the blocks or records, whatever information I'm sending is a block. Assume that is a block, or assume certain kind of record. That information has to go, right? Now today I'm sending certain application, certain data or certain video or certain chat message. Tomorrow I can say, no, I have not sent. That is not possible now, because everything is connected and everything is there in the internet, right? So even if I delete also, it will be tagged to somewhere, it will map to somewhere else. Okay. So the blocks are connected in such a manner, okay, so that everything is available in the internet in a shared manner. Each block has previous blocks hash or fingerprint in it, creating the hash a chain. This can be verified to ensure the integrity of data. Okay. So that is the blockchain. Now, when I go for blockchain, so say I'm creating certain kind of applications or sending some video or doing some finance transactions. So I'm creating a new block. That block will be part of my distributed ledger. Then this is going to do certain kind of transactions. When I'm doing certain transactions, I need to get authenticated with OTP, a certain kind of user ID, password, or some kind of key mechanism or cryptography mechanism. That's what digitally signed. When I digitally signed, then all the cryptography things will be there. They have to be validated. Then things will be put in certain place. And again, this process will continue. I'm sending something and I'm getting something. Whatever I'm sending, it is also linked. Okay. Whatever I'm receiving is also linked. So all these blocks are connected with each other and are getting signed, getting cryptographically linked, validated using authentication mechanisms, all the things made possible. Why blockchain? Okay. We saw that 5G kind of things. Currently 50 billion devices are there. And there is a possibility that by 2030, 500 billion devices are there. Now, is there any database mechanism there which can have all the information about all the data, all kind of applications they're using, and all kind of banking transactions they're using? Okay. So this has become a very big nightmare for everybody, including the 5G scientists or 6G scientists or whoever is there, or the operators or government. So they are trying to find out a mechanism where it can be deployed or how that can be deployed. Second thing is heterogeneity. You cannot stop someone from creating an application. Okay, anyone can create an app, put in Google app. Okay, anyone can create a hardware device. Make in India is there. Okay, anyone can create a hardware device. Anyone can get an IoT sensor. It can put it. So heterogeneity in terms of devices, heterogeneity in terms of networks, heterogeneity in terms of applications. So decentralization usage is very important. Okay, everything cannot be centralized. If one person is failed, everything is failed. That is not possible. Ubiquitous computing is essential. Then spectrum cost is essential. You must have seen that 2G spectrum issue. Still the cases are going on Supreme Court. 3G, 4G cases will come and that will never end. Spectrum is a huge amount cost expenditure. Okay, so the cost of spectrum is essential. So I have to utilize the spectrum in a very better way. Like this, suppose some spectrum is giving to say Tata, and Tata is not fully utilize the spectrum. Can somebody else utilize the spectrum? That is important. Then guaranteed security and privacy is required. If see, remember my credit card was hacked in 2006. Okay, and some 90,000, 98,000 someone has purchased using my credit card. It can happen with me, it can happen with anyone else. Okay, so applications or whatever I'm doing, there should be guaranteed security and privacy mechanisms. Okay, and reliability content based storage. whatever I'm storing, see, all my private data is there. Government has made DigiLocker. I'm putting all my data there, all my certificates, Aadhaar card, fingerprint, everything there. If that is hacked, gone, right? If something is done, then completely system, like everything is gone. So I need to have reliable content-based storage kind of things. You need to have intelligent data management. All the things can be made possible using blockchain. Blockchain in 5G, what exactly we expect? First thing is the decentralized approach is going to help me. Decentralized approach of blockchain is going to help me. Okay, accessible, because of that everything will be accessible and there will be efficient service delivery. Okay, and there will be consensus mechanism which is essential now. Like suppose say Airtel network. I'm having a Samsung phone, somebody is having a Micromax phone, somebody is having some Chinese phone, somebody a Huawei phone, everybody is having different kind of things. Now everybody is talking to each other and through certain things, I'm doing certain chat, I'm through that, I'm sending to Airtel and Airtel is, and simultaneously it is talking to say Vodafone or Reliance Jio. And if there is no consensus, if there is no some kind of security authentication between them, then anyone can enter, who is say anyone can enter to Reliance network or Airtel network and can do certain kind of mischief and go back, right? So the consensus mechanism is going to help them to manage them. Okay. Then immutability of future. Okay. In the blockchain, we saw there is a tamper proof because everything is connected to the back and forth. Okay. So because of the hash functions, it is completely immutable. That means it's it's immutable, right? And that means there is no death to it. That means I cannot say tomorrow, I cannot deny tomorrow the data is not there. It is not my data. It is your data. It is my data. It is there. The localized availability, that is also very essential because everything I don't have to go to, you have to go for the cloud itself. Something has to be there at my fingertip. So that localized availability can be made possible using 5G. Then cost saving is essential. Operators like Vodafone, BSNL, everybody is struggling. Tata Teleservices closed. Okay, the cost saving is essential factor. Spectrum sharing. Okay, trust mechanism has to be there so that the base station they can share, the spectrum they can share, so that at least cost of operations is less and they can make better profit. And everything has to be secure. So this is what we expect when I'm going to have blockchain and for deployment of 5G, so that my applications are going to be deployed. Now the point is blockchain essential for everything? That's the question. Whether blockchain will be required for all kind of deployment? Let us ask certain questions. I need user mobility. I need data usage. I need authentications. Do you need all these things? Do you need to store the state? State means here user mobility is a state. Data usage is a state. Application is a state. Authentication is a state. If I need to have all kind of state, then okay. Whether who owned this? Whether user or the operator or app owner, because everybody is creating these things. Are there multiple writers or single writer? We have multiple writers in 5G. Okay, and different network states are there. Okay, you can have Wi-Fi, you can have the LTE, you can have LTE advanced, all kind of the different network states will be there. Okay, then there are multiple parties. All parties may not be knowing each other, right? There will be third parties who they may not be knowing with the actual network operator. They may, and that is not necessary. Okay, so depending upon requirement, I can say whether I'll go for permissionless blockchain. Depending upon the requirement, I can say whether I go for public permissioned blockchain or private blockchain kind of thing. I can go for private blockchain if I'm going to have certain kind of enterprise solutions or some kind of industrial solutions. But if I go for say telco operations, I can go for public permission blockchain. Or there is if there is no state, okay, there is only one guy is utilizing and only one kind of person or one kind of data is being stored, then I don't need blockchain, right? I don't need at all blockchain. Okay, so blockchain is not necessary for everything. Blockchain is necessary on certain conditions or certain requirements, and we have to understand that I cannot use blockchain for deploying each and every use cases for in 5G. Okay, from the 5G perspective, let us see what are the opportunities we see. Okay, 5G infrastructure sharing, that's what we saw, right? 5G infrastructure sharing, the base stations we have, right? The whatever cloud we have, okay, the antenna we have. Earlier, everybody was having their own network, own base stations, but today everybody is not having their own base station. In fact, they don't own them. The base stations are owned by a third party. Say, I'll give an example. Nokia Siemens is owning certain base stations in Odisha and other places, and Nokia base stations are being used by Airtel. Nokia base stations are used by BSNL or Vodafone. So Vodafone engineer is not going to see whether the base station is working or not. That is the Nokia guy's job. And the same antenna, there can be same base stations, there can be multiple small antennas operating a different frequency band and doing that job. And this is can be blockchain can make them shareable in 5G. Similarly, infrastructure sharing, national roaming is a very important factor. Say I'm from Delhi, okay, I'm having MTNL mobile, I'm coming to say Rajasthan, and there itself BSNL is there. So when I switch on my mobile in Rajasthan, I'm connected to BSNL network. Through BSNL network, I'm connecting to Delhi MTNL network. So entire thing has to happen. That means when I log in there itself, the entire authentication mechanism has to happen. Whether I'm a prepaid caller or postpaid caller, what kind of the traffic sharing mechanism I have, what kind of revenue mechanism I have, what is the call rate, everything is different from different operator. So national roaming, international roaming are essential, which can be deployed using blockchain. Okay. Then network slicing, depending upon requirement, depending upon the type of bandwidth I need, depending upon the type of applications I'm using, video applications or audio applications, I can have different kind of slicing. Okay. Then depending upon type of applications, whether I can say MMTC or URLC kind of things, your security mechanism will be different. So 5G, there is a lot of opportunities for blockchain in 5G in terms of infrastructure sharing, in terms of roaming, in terms of crowdsourcing, in terms of slicing, in terms of spectrum sharing. All the things become possible. Let us see how these things are made realizable in actual technology. We'll see how the technology blockchain is going to help in technology. Then we'll see how blockchain is going to help in realizing the two use cases, healthcare use cases and other use cases we discussed earlier, and how blockchain is going to help them. Okay. The infrastructure sharing, as I say, tower owner say Nokia Siemens. Nokia Siemens is having one base stations and multiple towers are there, multiple antennas are there, small antennas are there. So and say there the new operator has come. Currently, say BSNL is there, Vodafone is there, Airtel is there. Now tomorrow some new operator has come. A new operator wants to utilize that thing. So all the information has to go. Tower information, capacity, price, availability, all information has to go. And that will go through a smart contract to the guy, to the new operator, to the mobile operator is going smart contract. And then after seeing the smart contract, okay, the mobile operator will accept, okay, I'm going to utilize your base station from to morning 6 o'clock to evening 6 o'clock or 24/7 with certain conditions, okay, or with certain power level. So all the information has to come, okay. Then only the information once it come to my tower owner, to Nokia Siemens, then only they create certain kind of say contract between the Nokia Siemens and the new operator, and the new operator start operating, and users like you and me can be able to connect to that mobile network or telecom network. Okay, so this is what is can be made possible through blockchain. So all the tower information, all the smart contract, everything is going as now certain kind of blocks. Okay, so blocks are now connected. Tomorrow the operator cannot say, no, I didn't ask you to do these things. No, it is there in the contract. It is there in that block itself. Whatever information you wanted is there. And tomorrow the operator cannot say, no, it was not my, there is a security breach at your point. Because everything will be checked, it will be monitored by the blockchain itself. Because when someone is going to read certain block or certain information, that information related to user or operator or bank or a third party, who has used, who has created that block, where it is stored, all the information is available in a very dynamic way, in a decentralized way. Okay, so blockchain is going to help me to realize whether there is a security breach or not, whether there is a privacy breach or not. Okay, whether the KPI or QAs are being maintained or not. So that is become possible with the use of blockchain in reality. Now, another thing is for roaming. As I said, the LSA, the roaming has to be there. Okay, so I gave the national roaming. Think of international roaming. If somebody from say US is traveling to India, okay, and India we have not only one operator, we have many operators. Around Delhi there can be multiple operators. Inside Delhi there can be multiple operators. If you go to a state there can be tens of operators, and each operator can be having multiple whatever kind of contract with the international operator. That is possible, right? Now point is that person is using some phone or some video in India. Okay, now the data is being created in India, right? But if the person is actually creating certain data, that means the data is owned by India. As per Government of India's policy or Government of India's rule, the data has to be stored in Indian server. Suppose Facebook data or WhatsApp data or Gmail data or something, that has to be stored here, not in American server. Okay, because if Government of India wants, they can access. Otherwise, the way it happened during 26/11 in Mumbai, they're having satellite phones and the terrorists were talking to all the journalists, but we are unable to do anything. That is not possible now. With 5G and blockchain, this is not possible. With 5G and blockchain, you can have country-specific data usage made possible today. You can have smooth national and international roaming. We can have cost-effective solutions, and you can ensure security and privacy. Okay, and when you do authentication, earlier the entire authentication mechanism from the visitor network to home network and coming back from home network, entire database was coming from the home network in a very non-secured way, in a very non-authenticated way. Now everything is authenticated now, because whatever information is coming from there is a block, and that block is linked to somewhere else. And now I can understand who has seen and how that has been seen, with what security mechanism, what authentication mechanism, what cryptographic principle, everything is visible now, right? So this is made possible, national roaming become possible with the blockchain kind of things. Third factor, slice broker. In 5G, they talk about slice. Okay, we saw three kind of traffic. We saw MMTC traffic, we saw URLC traffic, we saw eMMB traffic, right? Now eMMB traffic can be a tenant 1, okay, or there can be tenant 2, you need something else, tenant 3 can be something else. And when they were trying to run those applications and they are going to bargain with the operator, give me this much of bandwidth, and this bandwidth says say 1 rupee for 1 GB at the daytime, or half rupee in the per GB in the night time. So there can be some kind of brokerage, there can some kind of bargaining, and based on that, based on the network availability, based on the requirement, the operator can provide me certain kind of network. Operator, suppose BSNL network. BSNL network is very congested now. Okay, but BSNL network doesn't want to lose that customer. So what BSNL network can do? BSNL network can buy certain bandwidth from Airtel. BSNL network can buy certain bandwidth from Vodafone and assign that bandwidth or that resource to me. Okay. So all the things are become possible through some kind of network slice broker. So when everything is virtualized, this can be made possible. So using blocks, using all kind of the blockchain mechanism, this can be made possible. Okay, and you can have admission control, you can have resource monitoring, you can have slice setup, you can assign to particular tenant. You can say maybe you can give 1 Mbps now, you can reduce to 0.5 Mbps or you can increase to 2 Mbps based on the requirement, based on the usage, all kind of things made possible using blockchain. So decentralizations, security and privacy, slice broker, dynamic multi-tenant activities, all the things become possible using blockchain for 5G slicing. Okay, spectrum management. Okay, in this spectrum management, what I'm going to talk today may not be applicable in current Indian legal system, but it is applicable in some European countries, in US also. But maybe in going forward, it will be applicable in Indian scenario. Because in India, what is happening, whatever spectrum you buy and that you cannot utilize or cannot give or sublet to someone else, or you can someone else can utilize that spectrum, that is not possible for commercial reason, that is not possible. But suppose that is made possible. Okay, can I do that? Okay, can we do certain kind of spectrum management using blockchain? That means, so suppose I have say spectrum available at 800 megahertz, I have spectrum available at 1600 megahertz, I have spectrum available say 2000 megahertz, everything is available now. So depending upon requirement, now say morning, maybe everybody is going to the downtown and everybody is in the downtown, maybe say AT&T phones are very much there and they may need that AT&T people may need more spectrum, and maybe somebody else, Huawei or somebody else can give their spectrum or share their spectrum with them and get some money. So entire management, okay, can be made possible using blockchain. So they will see blockchain, using blockchain, I can do monitoring, and using monitoring, I can see what is the capability now. Okay. Now when I see capabilities, then I can create new slice using slice broker. When I create slice broker, I'm creating distributed ledger. So this is AT&T guy, this is Huawei guy, this is Vodafone guy, okay, this is Orange guy. They are utilizing this particular spectrum, and there is a network manager who that person, me, is a network manager who is actually doing the entire thing using blockchain. The entire implementation is being done using blockchain kind of things. And at the top of what? Top of the antennas, top of the base stations, which is being owned by Nokia or owned by ZTE or owned by Huawei kind of people in Indian scenario. So you can have smart city. Because of this, you can have smart city, you can have driverless cars. Okay, so you are going in say Delhi Jaipur highway, and in some places you might be getting good network by MTNL, some places you might be getting good network by BSNL, some places you might be getting good network from say Airtel or Vodafone, those kind of things, right? So now when you are having a driverless car, so the driverless car, that entity sitting at the car itself will be talking to operators, okay, and bargaining, and accordingly smoothly move or hand over from one network to other network at different time instants, depending upon requirement, depending on the predictions mechanisms. So the entire conversations, the allocations, the resource allocations, or the request going from the driverless car has to be through certain blocks. The entire thing has to be deployed using blockchain mechanism. That can be made possible today. And the other factor is storage. When the car is moving, right, the car information has to be stored, right? Like say how much fuel is there, how many people are there, what kind of application is running, all the things you cannot, for everything you cannot go to cloud. You can store those informations in a local place. You can, all the computation can be made at a local place. So say you are going at say 80 km per hour and you want to say travel say some 200 miles or 300 miles and you have say 40 liters of petrol. Now, how much time it will take, okay, or after what time you will be needing petrol and where exactly the petrol pump, and according you decide which at what petrol pump you will go and fill up your car. So that has to be computed. The entire thing has to be processed. Then only the car will stop at certain place and go and take petrol or fill petrol. So that is, so you cannot do everything at the cloud. You can do, because these are local informations. You have to do at the edge. You have to do at the fog end or the user end. So all the things made possible using blockchain mechanism today. Okay. Similarly, mobile edge computing. So that is also very essential. Okay. So this is also made possible using the cloud. I said cloud-led or edge computing. All the things made possible using blockchain. So there itself, decentralizations, network storage, computation. I said smart city, driverless cars, cost-effective solutions, and here physical network is there, and the kind of data you are giving, the driverless car is actually going. So it is utilizing certain cache, it is utilizing certain informations which is available in the fog end or edge networks on the way. Okay, all the information has to be stored in database, and entire thing can be managed using blockchains. Another example I will give, the blockchain for SDN. SDN, we saw the control plane and data plane, right? That much is there. That means you don't need a switch, and the entire switch mechanism is going to the control plane, and we simply need a forwarder. That's the data plane. Now the point is, suppose there are multiple domains are there. Point is, there are multiple controllers are there. How will they talk to each other? You cannot have the entire world with one controller. You need to have thousands or lakhs of controllers, and those controllers can be owned by multiple people. And when I'm going to connect all the things, okay, there should be some kind of consensus among those controllers. There should be some kind of consensus among those domain headers. That's the consensus place we need. And when I'm doing consensus plane, one controller is going to talk to other controller, saying that okay, I have this much of bandwidth, I'm this many people, I'm heavily loaded now. Can I offload from my network to your network? All the things can be done using contract plane. So you create blocks, you create ledger entities, and share those blocks with other controller guys. Okay, all the blockchain things, and then you accordingly, in a very smooth manner, you decide how the user will be offloaded, how the user load has to be balanced, who is going to manage the entire network, what kind of security mechanism you are going to provide. All the things can be made using blockchain in SDN. So here multi-controller function domain is a very essential factor. Let us see, we have already discussed with the healthcare use case. See how blockchain is going to help me. We discussed SDN part, blockchain can be there. We discussed in SDN and NFP, both are combined together. And edge part also we saw how edge. Now we have all these Internet of Things on the sensors at my home, the down part. Okay, all Internet of medical things are there. Now those sensors, whether it is heartbeat sensor or the BP sensor or the sugar sensor or activity sensors, all are generating some data, and they are communicating that data to me or to my doctor or to hospital. Through whom? Through the communication network with the LTE, Wi-Fi, those kind of things. Now while doing it, there can be fog, the edge can be there, your fog can be there, and these can be controlled using SDNization or virtualizations, and certain thing can go to the cloud, and there can be multiple applications. Certain applications are owned by, say, Pfizer, certain applications are owned by Mankind, certain applications owned by Dr. Reddy, because I am buying different equipments, different sensor devices from different companies. So you can have different entities at the top, and those entities data have to be shared by the to the doctors, to the hospital. Then only they can take some decisions, right? So entire things, that means data sharing, in the secure data sharing, okay, within privacy mechanism. And doctor want to see, okay, I have 100 patients, okay, in the area, say Bhubaneswar, and out of 100%, let me see who are having, say, heart attack today, or who are having the heart issues, what kind of criticality, accordingly I will check. So heart specialist came and did his job. The other medicine specialist came and he will see, okay, what are the diabetic kind of things now? Let me check it out. So with that has, it will try to find out all the informations. Now the information flow becomes easier today using blockchain. So that's what easy to data share. Huge amount of data is there, and that data share is become very easy with certain kind of SLA guarantee or service level agreement guarantee made possible using blockchain in healthcare. Okay. Another example, the vehicle to vehicle kind of communications or smart transport or the driverless car kind of things. Okay, you are moving, as I said, example I gave, when you are going from Delhi to Jaipur, and there can multiple places, different networks having better networks. Okay, so based on that, you hand over from say MTNL to BSNL, BSNL to Vodafone, Vodafone to Airtel, Airtel to MTNL. All the things can be possible. So, but when you are moving from one network to other network, the security bits should not be there. Your data has to move in a smooth way. Okay, and your handover mechanism has to happen very in a smooth way, and that can be made possible using blockchain. That is also become possible. Then other example I gave earlier, using the Chennai flood or Bhubaneswar or in Odisha, the cyclone kind of scenario where you need to have some kind of rescue operations using robotics or UAV kind of things. This is also possible using blockchain, because now there can be multiple networks, and it may happen that because of cyclone, everything is devastated, nothing is there. Now the drones have to create a network among themselves. As if drones are having Wi-Fi base stations, drone will go and placed itself in the multi-story building, okay, just close to multi-story building, as if it is a Wi-Fi access point. Okay, so all the users, all the people are there in that place can connect to drone, and via drone it can connect to another drone, and you can provide a temporary network conditions now, right, for all the users. That can be made possible using blockchain, because at that using MEC whatever we saw, or the cloud computing, mobile edge computing, using SDNizations, using all those kind of things, blockchain concepts we saw now, can be used to create certain kind of rescue operation mechanism as necessary, and blockchain can be the essential factor while designing all the things. This is the overall picture. We can have virtualized or blockchain RAN, you can have smart healthcare, you can have smart city, smart grid, Internet of Things, everything can be made possible using blockchains. Okay. Now point is blockchain, I'm going to utilize blockchain now. Now everything is not free and everything is not having perfectly fine. There can be some issues. What are the challenges? Whatever challenges we discussed so far in deployment and implementation, those are different issues. Those are the global challenges. Whatever challenges we saw today till now in actual deployment, how I'm going to deploy them. So that part is there. Or there will be huge amount of code investment will be there. That is different. There will be huge amount of cost is going to be there. That is different. Here, what are the technical challenges in terms of performance, in terms of scalability? Okay, throughput has to be there, because there will be so many blocks per second will be there. Okay, thousands of blocks will be generated and thousands of blocks will be sending to Axis Bank server. Can Axis Bank server manage those? Can authenticate them? Okay, block size limitations, whether block size will be 1 byte or 100 byte or 15 byte, so that also has to be there, right? That is also essential. Okay. Similarly, storage, where exactly have to store? Bandwidth constraints is important, because how much blocks and what type of block I'm going to share, and the network there itself, networking is going to play a picture. We spoke about consensus mechanism. Now what happens if 51% people are making consensus and they're taking decisions, and the minority guys, 49 guys, will be having problem. This is going to happen. This is happening in India now in democracy, and this can happen in actual real deployment also, right? So the majority are not always right? So that kind of consensus mechanism are also going to create some kind of problem. So then timestamp dependency, because everybody is creating block and everybody has different timestamp. and there is a possibility that is also problem. Re-entry attacks. So you have left something and you are giving something again. That is also possible. Mishandled exceptions, information leakage. So blocks can be leaked also. Your information can be leaked also. And there can be external attack also. External, because you are having all the blocks. Someone can try to steal certain informations using some kind of, if you are not changing your password, if you are not changing your authentication mechanism for longer durations, someone can connect and someone can do certain kind of like hacking to yourself. QS is a major issue. So many blocks are there. All the blocks will be sent to say ICICI Bank or Axis Bank or something, or Facebook or something. So when you create certain block, so you there itself certain delay is there. Your application delay. Then you will be sending to certain bank or Facebook or WhatsApp. That's a computation delay is there. When you send the end-to-end communication delay is there. When you send through someone operator is going to schedule because I am also sending, you are also sending, he is also sending, she is also sending. So all the scheduling delay will be there. Now lot of delays are going to play a role. Can blockchain solve them? Can blockchain solve these bandwidth issues? Okay, can blockchain help the dynamic issues, dynamic allocation issues? And the specific user may need specific requirement. I am a minister, I need certain requirement. I should have certain kind of privilege. So user-centric solutions is essential. The most important factor is energy issues. Energy is not good enough for in India. We don't have enough energy. Can we utilize alternate energy while implementing blockchain? So these are the broad technological aspect in terms of deployment challenges. While talking about use cases, talking about those things, they are very technical challenges. Now, is blockchain is good enough, or there is some alternative kind of thing? I may not need blockchain. Initially, we discussed blockchain everywhere, right? Blockchain is necessary to certain aspects. If I go for say enterprise solutions, centralized solutions, I don't need a blockchain because everything is in my control. I am not going out of my home. Private 5G solutions, blockchain is not required. If I go for cloud-based solutions, multi-location industries, blockchain is not required. If I go for only data mirroring, that means whatever data I'm generating, I'm sending to Chennai, I'm sending to Bangalore. I don't need a blockchain because I'm just doing a mirroring kind of things. If I'm only creating digital signature, okay, like some kind of authentication is happening, there itself I don't need a blockchain. So depending upon the scenario, okay, I will not use blockchain. So instead, I can use centralized solutions, I can use cloud solutions, I can use data mirroring, I can use digital signatures, whatever available today. Though for these kind of things, I don't need blockchain always. So blockchain is essential in certain cases to realize the 5G goal, to try to deploy or implement the 5G requirement. So let us see from the 5G perspective what is there. In 5G, data will be one of the key drivers. Ambani Saab said, data is the next petrol. Okay, data sharing is the most important factor. Reliability of network is very important. Last year, Prime Minister even complained to operators. There are call drops. Call drops should not be there. Okay, 99.99 kind of thing reliability has to be there. Cloud-based storage, okay, or app-based services are going to rule the future. When cloud-based storage, okay, like everything now, everything is going to say DigiLocker, okay, that's a cloud-based storage, okay, and app-based services. Using my mobile app, I can see my Aadhaar card anytime. I can see my 10 certificate or 12 certificate, all things possible, okay, and at the top of these, some third-party people are always going to create certain kind of business verticals. So for healthcare, say some company will come, okay, I'm giving this healthcare based on these information available. Okay, these are going to be utilized to create smart society in terms of smart village, smart city, smart agriculture, all kind of things. And blockchain is going to become the key factor, or it will going to have the key role for realizing them. At the edge, blockchain can be employed at the edge or the cloud with most security and transparency mechanisms, and the cost of operation may be very, very low, but cost of deployment can be very, very high, but cost of operation can be very low. And The important factor which I have not discussed, the regulatory aspect in blockchain deployment. Okay, if Government of India or the legal department, they cannot try to see what is exactly happening, then it is illegal. Like Government of India said, that Bitcoin is illegal in India, right? So even if I do blockchain implementations, I have to provide enough opportunity for the legal aspect to be taken care. So to summarize, we'll see, like we discussed, SD and NFP are going to play a certain kind of role. There are multi-party solutions. Earlier only say BSNL means BSNL, that's all. Okay, or Jio means only Jio, that's all. Or Reliance means only Reliance. Now I can have different phone, different network, different operators. Okay, all the things possible. Coexistence is at the same time. I can have multiple. I can have two SIM at the same time, and I want to utilize both the SIMs. And both the SIMs are from different companies, different operators. Can that be made possible? And energy will be a major challenge. And while dealing all the things, are the actual implementers or engineers, we need to take care of the 5 groups or 5 parties role. Okay, whether through blockchain or 5G use cases or anything. First thing is device manufacturer. Okay, whether device manufacturer is the Samsung guy or any other guy, like say our Desi guys are there. Okay, so there can be new devices, battery, new air interfaces, all are going to play a major role. Okay, so operator deployment, new operator versus old operator. That's what green versus existing network. Billing issues. Okay, what if suddenly Reliance of Jio say everything is free? Okay, now everybody is struggled. So billing operator has to be very essential factor. Standard body. So in those scenarios, our TRAI, TSDSA are going to play a role. But before that, they should have a certain kind of understanding. There should be there can be certain kind of standardizations. And those standardizations has to be supported by government. And for all the things, the entire thing is being done for user like you and me. Okay, whether you call Arogya Setu app or banking app or anything, it is only for you and me, right? For people like you and me. And the government has to support, operator has to support, standardization body has to support. So that means all the 5 parties are going to play a role, okay, while actually deploying the blockchain based 5G solutions in India. There are certain references. Thank you. Any question? I think I'm sharp on time.
Sir, there is one or two questions.
Yes, sir. Tell me.
One question is interesting.
How ML/AI can improve security aspect. Okay. ML/AI can improve security in a significant way. Okay. Let me give an example. As I said, there will be huge amount of data to be generated, right? And because of blockchain, each one will be connected, all kind of things will be there. Now, using ML, I can understand key, say, suppose I want to try to see one type of user.
Can you switch on your video?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Now, suppose I'm going to see certain kind of user, okay, or certain kind of application data. So ML can tell me, using ML, I can find it out where exactly security breach was there, how the security breach was there. ML can tell me, or ML can tell me who all have trying to hack, who all are doing what kind of operations. So using different machine learning algorithms, I can learn, I can find it out what is happening. Then I have to take automatic decisions. Okay, I have to take decisions using AI itself. Okay, AI will tell me whether 128-bit security is required or 64-bit security is required or 256-bit security is required. If I am in airport, maybe 256-bit security is required. If I am at home, maybe 32-bit security is good enough. If I am, say, railway stations, maybe 128-bit security is required. So ML or AI are essential factors to help us in creating security aspects.
Okay, sir. Jayaprakash, sir. बोलने कुछ.
Predictive security question was there, right? Can you elaborate more on the predictive security? See, okay. Now, the example I gave, ML AI example I gave. So you can predict what exactly is going to happen. So this is, I spoke about network aware applications or application aware networking. Here, I can say ki network aware security or application aware security. So prediction can help me to do that. So if I'm having, say, 10 applications, 2 applications are having stricter security requirements, 8 applications may not have stricter requirements. Now the network is, I'm utilizing some public network or private network. So based on that, there can be a prediction score. That prediction score will tell me what kind of security mechanism, whether algorithm 1 will be utilized, 2 will be utilized, okay, or 3 will be utilized, or at what time there can be a possibility hack. So this is going to be there when I go for 5G deployment for these kind of use cases. Okay, so predictive security mechanisms, which I talk in a different way, telling that network application aware security. So that's what exactly prediction security. So that means I know this is happening and or this is going to happen. Based on that prediction I'm doing, I'm taking certain things. This is what I thought ki prediction aware security mechanism.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Hemant, for your wonderful talk. Really, how is this blockchain for 5G, and there are different global opportunity and challenges that is very, very good. Hope all these participants, they acquire a lot of knowledge on this and they can work also in this area. And I request to the participant, if you would like to also in the offline mode to interact with these professors, also you can mail and can also discuss. So thank you very much, Dr. Hemant, accepting our request also for this talk for our FDP event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.